We don't need to do everything at the same time, basically. And this is maybe the problem we had before we worked. I mean, Swapr was Uniswap fork, and then we just added a bunch of features that we thought would be awesome, and suddenly had a lot of things to work on at the same time. And people just saw an AMM, right? Uh, if we built the things we built for Swapr into different brands and different places, I think at least we would get people coming back for, as an example, for the bridging or for zapping or for the echo router. So just a commentary, regardless what how DXDAO goes forward, Swapr needs to be yeah, needs to be continuing yeah, evolving basically.
Yeah. And also, I think it makes it easier to have a narration. Right now, there's like so many things that happen in Swapper that it is hard to sell, I would say. So if we say if we take Swapper as like a Google of finding the right price or the price runner of AMMs, then it's easier to sell where you just come in and then you will find the right price. And separate out the AMM part of it uh, and the zapping and the rewards, and it just makes it so much easier uh, to sell. I think that's my take as well. Like you could sell B2C for Swapper, it could be B2B for liquidity.eth or the rewards for the campaign creation. Yeah, then our strategy for sales and marketing also it kind of totally changes as well.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And I guess sorry about the recording. That kind of stinks, but at least the
Need to redo it.
no.
Hope not.
At least I mean the doc is there, so you can kind of read through it, but it's helpful to obviously hear it. And I guess like looking at the budget, so it looks like you and Venki or Zet and Venki are spending all of your time on the Swapper DApp component, that kind of first one. So I guess my question is, who is going to work on coming up with the plan and recruiting people for the other new products, right? There were lots of kind of like goals or responsibilities for those things, but I didn't see anyone like working on those. So like, who is going to come up with that plan?
um, right now, I mean, these products exist within Swapper, right? Uh, we need, yeah, I think the first 2 months, I think we will be working on those plans as well. We just didn't want to put it also deals with how how what are the priorities for the DAO. So if the DAO decides that we want to work we want to see Zapper implemented, then I think we will try to split this time across. Else, it still exists within Swapper, and then we have to keep maintaining it. Um, the kind of the way that we approach kind of changes depends upon what we try to keep it alive and what we want to trim it down.
Right. But I guess like the document says like 100% on those, and so I guess that kind of implies, right, that the funding is coming for work on the Swapper DApp, and so that if there was going to be other work, other ones, those would come through like some funding mechanism as well.
So we could maybe take an example. Let's say DXDAO votes only on the Swapr budget. So what would happen? Maybe I could chime in here. So what would happen is basically DXDAO would signal that the liquidity part of Swapr and the zapping is not uh, in the budget. We would not work on that basically, even though it's still inside of Swapr right now. There's no split, right? But we would not work on any liquidity or any protocol stuff when it comes to that, and we would only work on adding more networks, adding more AMMs, adding more aggregators, which is basically what the plan is showing here. So let's say DXDAO votes on Swapr and Zapper. Then we work on those two, and we give. Let's see here. How many percentages? Is it saying 0 on both of us there, Venki, or crashed here?
Got kicked out. Just a minute. Let me share my screen.
Having Swedish connection problems again?
Yeah.
Wait, let me just see here. So on Zapper, here we go. Zapper is 0 on both of us. Guessing it is because it is still inside of Swapr, or
yeah, it is inside of Swapr. I mean, if we depending upon the amount of scope that we want to fund these projects, like for instance for DX rewards, right? I mean, we could just have it right now as a separate DApp, but then not expand it, just having the current state of ERC20 staking. So it wouldn't cost a lot. It wouldn't cost a lot for the DAO, and there would not be like you don't need to spend a lot of time like putting like a 10% or a 5% of project management like that to these dApps. It depends upon the scope that we want to budget. Even at full budget, I think we have been doing it like all of these together. So until it is launched, I guess that we would probably be, yeah, I'm not too sure how to actually split it right now.
Yeah, I think the current state, I guess, to me, is there is not consensus to fund those other ones yet without like more information and more research. But that more information and more research like takes time and energy and resources. And so I don't think there's even yet consensus to like do that research and have those energy spent on the research. I think there's more consensus on having those time focused on like the Swapr dApp and maintaining that. And so I think like the percentage layout you have for the time work here actually matches up with what I think some of the focus and like the expectations would be from others. I had one other question to looking at this, I guess, and looking to the proposal, I'm thinking it from like the DXD holders perspective. I mean, obviously we just passed the proposal last night. And so thinking about from a DXD holders perspective, right, there's two elements that matter to a DXD holder. It's the spend on the treasury, right, the cost from the treasury, because spending money out of the treasury is, you know, literally coming from the cost of DXD. And then the other side is on the asset front. It benefits from the rise in the growth in the treasury. And one of the potential big upside growths in DXDAO's treasury, what I think should be a reason to hold DXD, is DXDAO's considerable position of Swapr token. So I guess from a DXD holder's perspective, it seems that some of these other like growth areas are not, I'm trying to see how those are more of a priority than like doing something to drive value to Swapr token or including something about Swapr token in that, given that's the way that value is translated to DXD holders.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't included anything that is related to Swapr token in the dev squad's budget. But yeah, maybe there has to be like a separate discussion that needs to happen on how to govern this Swapr, and we haven't included this in this budget because it is about product development and
right, but the way that value ultimately comes back to DXDAO, right, is through the Swapr token. So like if we're funding the Swapr Guild, like that's intricately linked, or there needs to be another way of that value kind of coming back, and just seeing the focus on that, or just kind of a conversation on that in here, I think maybe is a little missing, considering there's a lot of other product ideas in here that may like attract users, and those are kind of all there. But I think just having something in mind, or kind of conveying to DXD holders that this is all going to be a way of driving value to Swapr token, which in turn drives value to DXD holders.
And I think we might need some help on what to do with the Swapr token. We are product people. I'm not too sure how to drive value back into the Swapr token right now, not at this market. We had tried a bunch, I think, a bunch of initiatives, but if it hasn't
What
worked
were
out,
some of the
I
examples
think
of trying?
I think single staking was something that we tried from the product perspective with all of the liquidity mining campaigns where, but apart from that, we haven't had a Solidity dev to work on the buybacks and such. So yeah, we probably have failed on providing the value back to the Swapr token because maybe we don't have the skill set in this particular squad.
Yeah, and I think that it's not that we can answer that question now, and I also don't think we should try to do that. Like it's a bad idea to try to do something to pump Swapr token, and the short term we're doing something like that. Yeah. I'm just thinking of like how this budget kind of looks in the perspective of it, and like it seems to be more focused on like potential growth opportunities of Swapr, which I think are important. But I think some of the audience, right, thinking rep and DXD holders are probably going to be more concerned with less about where the product growth area is, but more about like what is the effect on costs, what is the monthly cost on this product that has seen a lot of investment from DXDAO, and then what is the way that value is going to return. And again, you don't have to come up with a way for that, but just like understanding that there's something there related to that, and maybe there needs to be this is more of a DXDAO problem, but I just think that's the perspective of a DXD holder. And so if something is funding, right, if you do the 6 months on this, right, like that 162K, it's basically like $3 off of DXD's price. If you just kind of like run it out in terms of you're buying 70% of the treasury if you take out 160K dollars. And so just figure out like that justification to that audience, I think is important and comes through. And I think is not necessarily coming through here, because here it's more about like kind of the growth opportunities.
Was there any question there, or I'm sorry.
Well, the comment that I think it should include things from that kind of meet the perspective of how does this drive value to DXD and specifically Swapr token. And I think that's missing from this budget now. And I think it's difficult to make a request for that money without something that includes at least a tertiary, like a casual comment on that. So I would kind of support something to put something in the budget for that.
Okay, I will think about it. I don't have any ideas right now, but I'll think about it and then I will try to see if I can come up with something.
Because the budget is not just about ideas, it's about values, right? So that's what it's going to convey. Like these are the things that the guild will value. And I think that's all kind of saying is maybe conveying some of those values here seem a little maybe off from what is kind of how a DXD holder might look at this now.
What is exactly off?
Yeah, I mean, so the value to DXD holder comes through the Swapr token, and like the question is like for Swapr, right? Like the reason that we should be funding this, I guess, right, is that there is some value or return to DXDAO, and then as a DXD holder to DXD.
Is that
and I
always the
don't
case for
necessarily see
everything?
that value translated like right here. I mean, yeah,
Chris,
or like a concern about developing that narrative on that value.
is that the case for all the budgets we're doing, or just for Swapr?
Well, swap. I mean, if you look at DXGov, right, the value for DXD holders there is primarily, I think, under governance 2.0, and that's why if you looked at like kind of the comments.
How will that drive value to DXD?
Well, DXD holder is less about driving value; it's more about giving governance power, which then can eventually drive value to DXD. That's something that DXD holders value is governance power. And so, like, yeah, that's the comment I made on the DXGov budget that I think they should be more focused on driving value to DXDAO governance rather than necessarily external DAOs. It's not that that's also not a focus, but that's the perspective needed. Yeah.
All right. I think it's legit what you're trying to say here, but I think saying that we don't have this in the budget doesn't makes it hard for DXD holders to see value in this is maybe a little bit opinionated from your opinion, but I guess it's still like I definitely see this as a DXD holder myself. I want all of our squads to actually try to drive value, but it's not.
It's kind of like a political messaging thing here too. I think we should like be okay with. I guess we're recording, so like it's kind of like, yes, this is the plan of how to execute, but the plan of execute, which is like, maybe grow users, do a bunch of things, that's different than how you're like presenting that plan and understanding that. And I think that's part of the disconnect again, is like conveying the values there. But anyway, I talked for a bit. I don't know if others have questions or comments kind of running up here.
Anyone else have any questions? I have a question. We had previously discussed only putting Swapr on maintenance and having a skeleton squad just maintaining Swapr. Will you propose this as an option for Swapr as an alternative to liquidity and Zapper and the liquidity and Zapper route? I think it would be good to open this up for a vote, like on the community to provide input on, because I think the original plan was to propose 3 routes, but now the other 2 routes have just kind of been eliminated. And I know some people are still in favor of just putting Swapr on maintenance.
I mean, we're proposing. I said I would work on Route 3. This is Route 3. The proposal of putting Swapr on maintenance doesn't need much details, but if the resources to maintain Swapr is important to put in a sheet, we could do that. But
I think
this is what we're proposing.
What does maintenance mode mean for people that wants to put Swapr in maintenance mode? I just want to understand the scope before we delve further.
Well, I think you guys actually suggested that as one of the routes, so you should tell us what maintenance mode is.
Actually, the current Swapr app would be the maintenance mode, if it is called that way. We don't want to call it maintenance mode. Yeah, if there is no more funding for liquidity.eth or Zapper or others, I mean, it is like yeah, what you asked for right now.
Yeah, and so I guess I'm thinking the squad metrics, right? You have these like 4 different ones. I'm looking at the doc now. So like the first one that just says Swapr, I guess that's Swapr maintenance, right?
Yeah, I don't want to call it maintenance.
Expansion, right? There's like expansion in new networks, but that's just kind of things we've already done. There's actually not any like new features. It's more of just like growing existing ones and maintaining things. Yeah. Is that right? Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to call it maintenance mode, then it's
right.
Like
that's a bad. I agree. That's a bad
one step before decommissioning, I would say. Yeah. But yeah, it is like a lean mode. It's a lean path where it is time boxed, and you just chug on all the integrations. There's no new features that we are going to add except that unifying the swap box, where we want to minimize what Swapr is. So apart from that, there's no new features that we are proposing. So yeah.
So let's say Yeah, exactly like that. So if let's say we go into what we would call now maintenance mode, we would not unify the swap. We would not touch anything and just keep Swapr alive. That would basically be like the minimum to keep Swapr functioning and not expanding. So as an example, if there's a new network out there, we would not go to that new network. There's a AMM on aggregator we need to add. We basically don't. Something just keep things minimal. So some one or two developer, or just one developer. It depends.
Yeah,
Maintenance stuff.
because like what Ross is saying, like at the moment, DXvote is on maintenance, and
Yeah.
it just requires like a little bit
I
of a
wouldn't
resource time.
I mean,
And so like,
we don't
I'm sorry,
we don't want to compare it to DXvote.
I'm sorry, Vicky, I'm not finished talking yet. So let me finish. I understand that Swapr isn't DXvote and that it probably will take more resources, but the community hasn't even seen that as an option. So like, do you have an option for us to like, for Swapr to have like 2 or 3 developers only in more of a maintenance mode?
Just contributors. We don't decide stuff. The options are endless, literally. This is what we're proposing, and if there's a maintenance mode to do, then that's it. You don't need me or Venki to do that, right? It's pretty straightforward. We are proposing something from our expertise of products, at least. This is what we're proposing. If there's other things to propose, and people can do that. Like anyone is free to do anything. We don't decide over Swapr. We just so happen to be the experts here, and we think this is the best way forward, at least from our situation of the market and the situation with DXDAO. So we don't need to say, hey, the option maintenance mode is here on the table. Like we can still go that route. We don't need to propose it. Anyone can propose it. So as an example, if we don't come with any, if we don't like the proposal we're putting here, we can discuss. We can talk about it. We see what don't we like. Is it the budget? Is it the money? Is it the ideas? What is it? And then we can like, adapt. And if we don't like that, then yeah, Swapr on maintenance mode is the best route, right? If we can come to an agreement. But this is what we think is the best route forward.
Sorry, just for clarity, the first section is not a Swapr maintenance mode, or it is?
No, it's not.
Okay, because there's some expansion. I thought Venki kind of said it. There's no new features, but there's I mean,
I mean, when you say maintenance mode and then you compare it to DXvote, the DXvote is not B2C. I mean, you need constantly users, else it will become a dead product like Omen. So, I mean, comparing DXvote and Swapr is different because one is B2B and one is B2C.
Yeah.
So, if you compare how we have Omen in maintenance mode to how you have DXvote in maintenance mode, I think you have to have a right comparison.
I agree completely, and I think you're completely right on the I don't know, B2B. I like to consider myself as a B business, but like you want to keep servicing the existing users who like rely on it and maintain. And that's what DXvote. I think with Swapr, you definitely want to do that as a base, and Swapr has a lot more users than DXvote, so that requires a little bit more. Plus, I think there's some ability to even grow some of the user base with Swapr outside of doing any technical work. This is kind of stuff like the go-to-market stuff or just, in general market developments. So I think that there is a level above DXvote, right? And at the very bottom of this, I guess, is Omen, even though Omen works great. And we can talk about kind of doing something with that, but that's one at the very bottom. And then there's DXvote, which again, DXvote, we're actually not trying to use. Again, that's literally maintenance mode, like with a dead end, because we have something else replace it. Swapr is not a dead end, right? Like, I don't think it's a dead end. I don't think that's something we're trying to do. I think for right now, there's just not enough appetite to fund a lot of things going on with Swapr right now, just because where the market is, both from a the size of the treasury is kind of lower, so that kind of affects some of the spend. There's also what is the value out on that spend going to be? So I don't think there is appetite to fund all of these things, and so we have to pick. How do we get Swapr to the other side of this? how do we kind of be on the other side of 3 to 6 months when there is something changing in the market, when there is a new idea, when we have kind of more resources, or we've kind of found someone there. And I think it is this, like, maybe we need a different word than, like, maintenance plus, but it's something above that. And I actually honestly think it's what's laid out in that top one, which is kind of, again, like mostly, like, except for the front end, it's kind of doing that. It's just maybe adding a few things. I think the only concern is that if that is the maintenance mode of doing things that we're doing over the last couple of months, but nothing on the smart contract, all additional features that we've already integrated, the monthly cost then seems a little bit high, because that doesn't seem necessarily like that, that level above maintenance where we're just trying to get to the other side. It seems a little bit more like we're still trying to fund the exploration stage. And I think for Swapr right now, it's more on, like, getting to 3 to 6 months from now without spending as much, so that we then can spend, right? There's a limited amount of funds to spend here, right? And so the question is not like whether we spend them, it's more of like in the future versus now, and then it's making sure Swapr gets to that. And so, yeah, my perspective is I would like to see this top squad. I think that's, something that will continue to grow. Swapr, I think the focus should be on everything in there. And then let's return to the conversation in 3 to 4 months, and we can talk about devoting resources and times to the things at the bottom. But I think having that one at the top be only what we're focusing resources on now, and then if there are, and just having the resources needed to provide that there, and kind of reflecting that into the overall cost, that's what I think the best path is forward. And then, things change. There are different ideas. We can partner with different people. The markets kind of will move, but I don't think we want to be forcing something right now.
Do you see DXproduct building any other products than Swap like this and DXvote and Carrot? And Carrot's unclear for now, but let's say a part of this, do you see DXproduct doing anything else for this 6 months?
What do you mean?
We
Like,
wait with that?
Like funding other products, or?
I mean, if someone comes and say, "Hey, DXproduct, I heard about you, and I have this idea," would we fund that, or would we just say, "Hey, let's wait"?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a different environment than it was a year ago. And you can kind of see this in terms of what the funding opportunities, but I think we're still trying to be active in this space. It's just being much more selective. And I think that's why I think, like, perspective here again is to be a little bit more selective. And it's like, okay, let's only fund what we really think will drive value now. And I think that's the perspective that DXDAO needs to have over this bear market. That doesn't mean you don't invest in opportunities. It just means you have a closer scrutiny.
I actually see it differently, maybe, but I see that we should double down on bear market and build the products for the next. At least if we believe in the cycles, then there will be a new cycle, right? We should actually build now and not wait.
Right, but that costs money, right? And I'm just saying I want to do that. It's just the question is you have to figure out where to spend that money.
I mean, everything we do here costs money, right? Operations and everything else, right? We have all of this machine so we can build products, right? That's the purpose. I hope that's the purpose of DXDAO.
Agreed. I mean, I definitely think that should be a focus as well. Just one more concern of mine is that the squad leads of Swapr will mostly be reducing their time and eventually leaving within the next 6 months. And I think it'll be really challenging to execute on all the initiatives with Zapper and liquidity.eth and like switch leadership simultaneously. Have you guys thought about the challenge that will arise with all the leadership leaving? And like, why do you think that the community should vote on a proposal in which the entire leadership squad is leaving within the next 6 months?
I mean, not the entire, but yeah. Do you want to?
I mean, Zet, Adam.
Yeah, that's not the entire.
Venky's expressed multiple times that he wanted to leave, so.
Yeah, I have. I think if it is as it is right now, I think I will probably leave as well. But I mean, the product keeps this is the beauty of the DAO. The product keeps moving on if you have a good roadmap. We might probably find.
I mean, it shouldn't be adapt. Like I shouldn't be Swapr, Venki shouldn't be Swapr, Adam shouldn't be Swapr, whoever. Like we should, we should. I mean, a little bit maybe communistic to think about this, but we're just workers, right? We're not guaranteed. Any of us could be gone tomorrow. Like we can't say, hey, if you're gone, we won't be doing this. I'll use my time at DXDAO, whatever time I have, to help DXDAO grow the best it can. And if it means that I come up with a plan to do it, then that's the way to do it. And DXDAO can decide how to move forward. Like I'm not gonna stop trying because I know I'm gonna be gone in February.
Interesting. I remember not too long ago you saying that it was really difficult for you to push things forward with Swapr and kind of make it succeed because it was not really like your vision or your roadmap. And so, I mean, I'm nervous that that'll happen again if this is yours and Venki's and Adam's vision, and then switching leadership. Maybe the same case might happen with them. The same thing that happened with you, Zed. Not it being your product.
I mean, this is a DAO. It's none of our products. I hope we don't see this as our, like, my products, or Ross is Davi, or someone else's son. So, like, that should never be the case. We shouldn't be the face of anything. We should just have responsibilities and deliver. We post our proposals and deliver on them. That's it.
I take money, so I have to do this.
It's more than that for me, but yeah, but it shouldn't be connected to people. Even though it is people doing this stuff, we should see the DAO being able to adapt and move on and grow much more flexible than what we do now, right?
But I think the question is, like, then when we can see that there will be like this transition, how do both sides like try to manage it? And I think that is a challenge. Like, we're kind of DAOs, like, how do we kind of do this and do that? And I think one of the things that can be difficult, though, is if there's already a vision in place and then trying to fit someone else into that vision can be difficult. Sometimes if you're like, if there is going to be, a different vision, it's sometimes better to like have more of a, not like a blank slate. But I do feel like Swapr is entering like a new phase, and I think that's, again, good, because that's what it's like, this organic being. Like, the products in DXDAO are, again, not owned by anyone. They're going to float from this thing to that way. And we are shepherds or guardians like of that. And so, again, it's not thinking about just like the next 6 months. It's like, well, Swapr is going to be out of all of our hands in 2 years. And what is that going to be, then, or whatever. But
I mean, I hope DXDAO takes care of their visionary people, or whatever you want to call them, the people that wants to drive visions, and it doesn't need to be theirs. Or for now, at least, I think it's quite hard being that person, at least at DXDAO. I'm not saying I'm a visionary, but I'm just saying I can come up with ideas and try to drive them forward. It is, and we talked about this a lot, maybe about having the perfect solution, and then we move forward. It is like, it would be so nice to be just doing work and not think too much, but our work is thinking a lot and plan a lot, and then getting a lot of pushback. But that's part of it. But I think we could get better at this at DXDAO, and I think if you have these people that want to drive things forward, just think about it as a value itself, and these people get tired and move on. And I guess this is, like, I don't want to, it's just not me, but I mean, obviously Venki is saying, if this is how we work, then maybe he will quit, right? It's not a threat, but just saying, like, we wanna drive things forward, but there is some unnecessary pushback sometimes.
All right. Anybody else have any comments or feedback? We're over the hour, so won't have a chance to hop and talk about Carrot.
Can I just give a quick comment? I just want to say something. Can you imagine putting all of this time doing all of this, what we've done, and the feedback is this, only this. Like for now, at least. Let's see what happens on. Like, can you just imagine that feeling? Or I'm just trying to get into your heads, like appreciate what you have, and we don't need to like circle jerk around this. But I'm just saying, this pushback I'm talking about it's happening right now as we talk, right? I'm trying to keep my calm. I'm trying to just shut up, even though I want to comment on unnecessary stuff. There is a very negative sentiment with some of you guys, and it is very boring to work with you guys. That's my comment, and it feels like I would put my time somewhere else where it's appreciated, and I'm 100% sure Venki feels the same way.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, Zat.
I don't think you're sorry.
No, I don't think so too.
I mean, I'm not sure what you want me to say to that.
I don't need to say anything, but just, yeah, take that in. That's how
You
I feel.
can have your opinion. And thanks for kind of wrapping it up. Does anybody else have any comments on the Swapr budget or anything else?
Well, I don't want it to end on that note, but I'm okay with it ending in general. But I think it's, yeah, a learning process. I think when you're talking about the vision is a great idea. Is that the question is like, how do you form a decentralized vision, right?
It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to some of the things you're talking about doing the website, and like, I really think the skill is less about coming up with the vision, but more about doing consensus building and communication, and the process is what ends up giving it that legitimacy that it is coming from, the decentralized collective and not from a single individual. And I think that process is, that's the thing that you have to learn to be able to do it right. Anyway, can we end on that one?
Yeah, that's a good note to end on, Chris. Okay.
Does anyone want to see how you might be able to redeem DXD?
Yeah. So who's going to be manipulating the oracles?
Well, nobody. But I mean, people can leave if they're interested. But we prepared for this, so I might as well just go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Adam, do you want to share your screen quickly? I don't know if you're still running it locally.
Yeah, let me walk you through it. All right, so I think going back on this topic, and people were being concerned about how we do this. Some people suggested like GPT-1, others said like have someone do this manually, and then we do like a proposal, shoot it out, and then etc. And then one idea that we had like initially was like if we can just do all the calculations off-chain, and then so for example, you can get everything from Uniswap v2. Some of the pools are available also on Uniswap v3. And then I know there's like a spreadsheet of all the tokens that are eligible for a NAV calculation, and then you get the dollar value. So we picked that against like USDC pool on Uniswap v3 right now. So, and then the idea like who's going to run it. So the idea was if it's just me, I can probably manipulate this to my advantage and then take a lot of width out of the treasury, whatever that is, for like one DXT. So what we come up with is like a very similar solution to what OmniBridge is doing on the XTAC chain. So what we did is like we created like some sort of another blockchain on top of the, like it's just written in JavaScript. It's like super simple, but it's not running on EVM. It's like a network of people who are identify themselves as signers or verifiers. So the idea is very simple. You have like one server that is basically called an aggregator node, and this aggregator node can be hit on a endpoint, so that would be like a public server. Obviously, we're going to be running this as A3C. Other people, so this will be like contributors, whoever wants to run the verifier image can do so. You just need to register yourself on the contract. So there is a contract and there is like an off-chain system. The contract verifies that there is a signer that's actually doing the calculation. And then the aggregator basically takes all of the data from all of the signers. So basically, first time is going to calculate the initial calculation. So let's see, for example, I want to select 3 DXD. I'm going to want to redeem this to WETH. I get a quote. This will take a lot of time. Oops, let me see if I probably definitely did something wrong. Let's see. Let's see if this is gonna take some time. Yeah, all right. So now I have like 2DXD, and I want to redeem this to WETH. I'm going to get 0.67 WETH. How did I get this? So first thing, the Oracle is going to do, the aggregator is going to do the initial calculation. It will get a payload, a JSON payload of this. It will send it to each signer. Each signer is going to do the same calculation. It will compare it against what the aggregator got. If it's valid, if there's like a 100% match, it will sign it. And then it will send it back to the aggregator. The aggregator is going to get you back the final result with all of these signatures. So this will be like a list of the signatures. Then you're going to redeem this, and then this is not going to work because our signers are not available right now. We haven't registered any signers. And then you basically sign this match. This is very similar to Uniswap v3. So without having to approve our contract, you do this like per transaction. So we're getting a signature from you, and then we send this to the contract. The contract is going to do everything, so you don't have to do approval transaction anymore. You sign this, and then this is not going to work, obviously, because it will revert. And then this is calculated in real time. So after my transaction, if this goes through, if I do another, if I sell another 2 DXT, I'm going to get a different NAV and then a different amount of WETH, and this is all in real time. There is no human intervention whatsoever. Everything is automated, and it's going to be publicly available for everyone. And then this is the verifier documentation. So you just send the message. So this is like the amount of DXT redeemed, the current circulating DXT supply, the redeemed token. So this would be like the address of the token, whatever that is, and then the redeeming USDC price for the TAT token. So if we're talking about WETH, that would be like around 1,300. Redeemed amount, the amount of redeemed token that this person wants is going to get. So this is the initial data from the aggregator. Then the collateral USDC value is the NAV against the NAV discounted. So that would be like 70% of the actual NAV. And then you can see that this is actually 15 million. It's supposed to be around 29 million. 29 million, that would be like the full NAV. And then I think if you just discount 30% of that, that'd be around 22 million, give or take. So that's our solution for the redeeming stuff.
And there would be a smart contract.
There is a smart contract.
There is a smart contract. That's how this all works. They're smart. They're super fucking smart. But there would be a smart contract that DXDAO would give permission to spend a certain amount of tokens. Sorry.
Yes. You guys don't have to do any sort of moving funds around. So let's say like you would basically
approval is kind of a way of moving funds. That's
Yes. Yeah, but the idea is like the fund are not going to be sitting in the smart contract. They're going to be staying in the treasury every 2 weeks or so, depending on how much volume have we processed. The allowance is going to go down, and then we just need to do like a top up. Instead of just moving the funds, we're just doing a approval top up.
Yeah. But just as everyone knows, like every time you do an approval function, you should really trust the contract you're giving the approval function to. So we'll have to
going to verify it. Yes.
You're sending to that because theoretically could be drained all that. And that's why I said the thing about the Oracle, right? Because an Oracle manipulation of some sorts.
So the cool thing about the Oracle is like, let's say you have like 5 signers, there is a minimum threshold. So if any of those signers decide that this result is basically malicious, they can just abstain from signing, which is basically what the logic of the verifier does. And then the transaction is not going to go through because the contract is going to also verify that out of 5 signers, there has to be at least 4 signers.
And to do an approve function, I assume that means we go through multi-call too.
Yes, the multi-call scheme.
But we
Dude.
can reduce the multi-call parameters to make it quicker if that's a concern.
Well, but I'm just saying, I think to do an approve,
Probably not
it's going
so.
to be 16 days.
Because to update a multi-call scheme parameters, you first need to, I think you still need to register it again.
You got to
different?
you actually have to register a new contribution scheme.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because in this is a point to this design is better for the current one, because the point being we could do one approval for WEF and DAI, and then that would be like, I would take 16 days to do both of those proposals, but then that would all DXDAO would have to do, because then the rest of it would be automated. The question would be how much do we want to give permission in that initial stage, right? Because there's maybe the question of, and I also, the other thing to think about is like dollars here, dollars versus ETH. We haven't really thought about that, but I actually think in general, this could be like a really strategic opportunity to be using some of the dollars instead of the ETH.
So the user has
Just
the
as a way
option
of
to
kind of
get
diversify.
either WEF. They can select between ETH, WEF, and USDC and DAI.
Yeah, I think it's more from DXDAO's perspective. We actually haven't committed to. We're agnostic on the asset that's used to pay off, and I think we should think about what that asset has been. When ETH was at 4,000, it was obvious we should be selling ETH to get the DXD, but now ETH's at 1,200, 1,300. We've already been doing some stable coins, so but we don't want to like send all our stable coins and then ETH crashes a bit and we're kind of out of stable coins. I'm just saying, I think we want to think about what the breakdown is between WEF and stable coins.
Yeah, and you can do that just through the approvals, right?
Right.
Yes.
And then the front end of this application can actually just monitor how much approval there is, and if there's no USDC approval, the user won't even be able to select USDC.
Well, yeah. I mean, what I could obviously, maybe have a product suggestion that you can incorporate CowSwap or the Eco router to automatically convert the USDC to WEF or something. Because I think for the important thing, from whoever's redeeming it, they don't really care, because like ETH is money, WEF is money, stablecoins are money, so they can get it and then convert it to whatever they want. Maybe there's some like tax thing. The only one who really cares about it is DXDAO, because it changes the makeup of the treasury.
Yeah, and this is all Dockerized, so theoretically it would be possible to run this on a DApp node as well, perhaps. So that would mean a lot of DXDAO contributors could potentially run a verifying oracle.
It would be cool whenever 3AC, the new one, because the old one's coming back. They're around. They're poking their head out again. But maybe sharing this with the community or in the forum whenever you guys feel ready, just to show that, like, kind of the idea.
Yeah. We also wrote up a report. Just need to clean it up a bit. We just wanted to talk to them about it, and we might also rebrand away from 3AC. Unfortunately.
Oh no.
Yeah, so everything is going to be publicly available once we are sure that we're at a good stage, and then obviously this will come with like posts and documentation. We can also do like a signal proposal to delegate A3C to officially run the aggregator, and then other contributors can do the verifier segment of this service.
Cool. That's super awesome. Thanks for sharing, Adam and Dave, and really looking forward to it. Any questions about this? Anything else? Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your Friday, everyone.